All right, we're live. Welcome to the live, everyone. It's going to be a very interesting conversation. We got a little debates that we're going to be having. And first off, I want to tell y'all some good news that I'm a brand ambassador now for the Mosaic label, and it's the pro mix. So we should support people who are pro mix and all about celebrating our mixed heritage and culture. And it's a fashion brand and a lifestyle brand. So go check them out. And I got a discount code that's going to be on the screen and all that good stuff. So let me welcome my guests. I got Crispin, I got George War, I got Lynn. So how y'all doing?
I'm good. How are you all
I'm
doing?
good. I'm good. I'm good. We're gonna have a really much needed conversation. A very much needed conversation about tribalism and how it affects mixed people. And I first want to start off with how does tribalism affect mixed people? And I came up with the word we're multi-tribal people because we belong to sometimes a bunch of different tribes, racially, ideology, like ethnically, culturally, like we're just all over the place and we have a bunch of different tribes. So how do you think that affects us like growing up? So what y'all think about that?
It's going to also mean that a lot of people in your family, or just even a lot of people from just all around the world, are going to partake in a lot of ethnic and racial gatekeeping. And since they're going to
Mm-hmm.
see you as something else, you're
Yep.
more likely to get ostracized by
It
whatever that
hurts.
community is. And
Yep.
that goes for just about everybody because, technically speaking, the human condition is tribalistic. And so
Yep.
if you're just seen as an outgroup of something else, then it can become very hurtful and painful,
It is
which is
hurtful
why a
and
lot of our
painful.
people are just in that sunken place of self loathing and confusion.
I agree. I agree because I was reading a comment one time and they were saying, like, somebody was saying how it's a privilege to be accepted, It's a privilege to not be questioned. Like, oh, are you really one of us? Like, that's a privilege that a lot of monoracial people have that we as mixed people don't really have. Like, no matter what space we go, even in our mixed communities, it's like we're gonna be questioned. Like, are you really mixed? Are you really this? Are you really what you're saying you are? We don't really have that unquestionable like alliance or tribe that is like this is who we are. Like, but it's going to be a debate later on, like, okay, do we, when it comes to like mixed spaces being inclusive, about like, okay, we could have that probably in if we have like only Pacific, like if we only have Blasian spaces, if we only have mulatto spaces, but even then it becomes an issue and a problem because all of us mulatto people, we all have different upbringings, we all have different cultures, we all have different we don't have like a cultural connection, we don't have that, like, we are all different at the same time, so we don't have that type of tribe. Like, we don't really have that. When I think of a tribe, I think of people who are like all the same phenotype, all the same language, all the same traditions, all the same culture, all the same way of life. They eat all the same food. They, you know what I'm saying? But we really don't have that. As mixed people, we're all different phenotypes, we all look different, we all have different cultural backgrounds, we all are eating different food, we all are, a lot of us speak different languages and stuff. So it's just something that, me personally, growing up, it has affected me a lot, feeling like I don't really, that's a common mixed race experience, feeling like you don't belong or accepted, we don't have a tribe, and that's what we're trying to do here in these spaces, is like create a tribe for us. But we're struggling with that, we really are. Like, so many people have, there's been so many like civil wars in these spaces and infighting, and like, that happens in all spaces, but all those other spaces, they already have like an established tribe already, so it doesn't really affect them as much. But when 10 times more damaging to us, it really is, because we already don't have nothing really foundation really established. We did probably in the past, like somebody told me, like, mixed people are nothing new, you know what I'm saying? But we really don't have nothing really established, like identity wise, like really concrete, because we're still trying to decide what should we call ourselves and what should we, what are we really fighting for here. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and let somebody else speak. Sorry, I was kind of rambling on. All right.
Lynn or Crispin? Lynn or Crispin?
You can never be long-winded on your own panel, girl.
My
So
long-winded self.
it's okay. I have a bad habit of getting into the filibustering myself, so I understand. I can relate. But uh-oh, did someone fall down?
It looks like it was
Yeah,
Crispin.
he did.
Mm.
It's okay.
I
Oh, he
I
back.
um I personally, understand that naturally people are going to click up and things like that. That is definitely inherently natural, right? But I think that actively, and see, I guess it's a, it's like not that black and white. I feel like there's a lot of nuance to it because I, for one, I encourage us all to, I encourage no matter who you are to take pride in your background. I think that's very important. And you know, some people will shame others and be like, "Oh, you make being insert whatever ethnicity your whole personality." But it's like that's a huge part of your personality. So I definitely encourage people to embrace who they are no matter what. However, I do think that there is a slippery slope once we do start getting into all of that division, especially amongst people who are, you know, a particular group of mixed folks like us. I think that especially now when trying to build community, I think while it's still in its infancy, it might be a little bit too much to try to do all of the like, you know, good old warrior tribalism esque type stuff.
The exclusivity, or yeah, the exclusivity, the exclusive spaces that are just like for this only Pacific mix, you know. And yeah, I agree because okay, my first introduction to a mix, like a only like, because you know I'm a mulatto, black white mulatto person, mix only was hybrid vigor. Like he was the one that I was introduced. Okay, this is my first time being introduced to an exclusive space that's only meant for mulattoes, and I felt weird and unwelcome in that space, you know, because I feel like I didn't fit in really because you know I have a black mom, and it was like a really pro. Like I don't know, I felt like it was a weird space for me to be in because I don't feel like it was very welcome there to like you know have a black mom in that space. It was like you know he believes that you know women biracials with black moms, women that are biracials with black moms are not as feminine and all that. So I felt like I felt weird and unwelcome in that space. So I was like, this is kind of like maybe not for me because you know when does it end? You know what I'm saying? If we have like a only mulatto space and then we only what's it gonna go to? Only a mulatto space that's has white mom, and then it goes to only a mulatto space that lives when it can, only a mulatto space that makes this amount of money, only a mulatto space that you know what I'm saying? Like, when does the division end? That's what I want to know. You know what I'm
I don't
saying?
think
That's
it never
why
will.
it never will. It never ends.
It
Like, when
never
does it
will.
stop?
But you have to come to a certain point where you all are going to agree on something that needs to be done.
Exactly. I agree.
If we're all looking to be, recognized, we're going to have to give up some things in order to come together to reach that point. Now, once we get that point, then there's going to be infighting, and that's the nature of, like George just said, that's the nature of human beings. You're never going to agree completely on one thing, but if you can put your differences aside and have a little common ground to achieve a certain goal, then that's what you should focus on first.
That is exactly my stance right there.
Yeah,
Right
and
there,
it's
what you just said. That's exactly my stance. That's why, me personally, I have a pro mixed space that tries to be inclusive towards all mixed people because I feel like we could all unite and have a common goal and a common stance and all work together towards a common, you know, making sure our identities is respected, fighting against mixing. That benefits all mixed people. You know what I'm saying? That's exactly my stance right there. You know what I'm saying? Of course,
But
I
that's
believe.
why, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
But that's why I posted those lyrics to the song I did in the chat, because that's about as real as it can get. You're always going to fight either up or down with a specific group of people, and you're always going to have infights. Brothers fight each other all the time, but at
I'm
some
trying to
point
find the lyrics.
you forgive each other and you keep it moving. I fought with
Yeah,
my brothers
I agree.
on the street every day. We talked about each other badly every day. But
Hmm.
at the end of the day, we all still good. We all still friends. We go smoke a little joint together. We go play some ball, whatever. But nobody from the block isn't going to come in and do the same thing to us.
I love that so
You
much.
you
Yeah,
you
that's
you
how
have
I think of
you have
people
to
in these
draw
spaces.
you have to
Yeah.
draw a line in the sand at some point. Like the brother
Hmm.
who you thought was going to be here, Mulatto Vanguard. I've seen a couple of his videos. I don't agree with everything he says, but I know he wants the betterment for mulatto people. Me and him are on that same page. And I'm sure we could build with each other to
Got
get to that
you.
point. But then once
Mhm.
we get to that, me and him are going to have to settle differences within our specific group, our family,
Yep,
you
yep,
know,
yep.
and that's not always going to get done. So, you live your life how you want to. We achieve this goal for the greater good. Now you just have to maneuver your way through that.
Mhm, mhm. I think that as long as we're working together to benefit each other, I think that's all that's how I view people in these spaces. A lot of people don't like, I try to be like a peacekeeper, or I do try to remain neutral when it comes to people's beefs, because I view it as like almost like a civil rivalry. You will be cool, and we'll be like me and my sister fight all the time too. You know what I'm saying? We'll be going at it or whatever, and then we'll come to forgive each other, and that's what a tribe is supposed to be. It's supposed to be like a family, isn't it? Even
Right?
even somebody said that it's like a family, like a
It
clan,
is.
like a family. So that's how I kind of view everybody in these spaces. Like, okay, I'm like, we're supposed to be like a little family, like, but I think, family could be toxic. We have to cut off toxic family members sometimes and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? If they're not being respectful towards you, and you know what I'm saying? I understand all that, but at the same time, it's like,
And like I said,
it's,
my point of view isn't always, I am by nature a segregationist, and I know people are going to hear that word and kind of flip out on it. But I am a
mhm,
very separate but equal person. As long as it's equal across the board, it's good. You know what I mean? So this person can't complain. Oh, I couldn't make it because of this. I couldn't make it because of that. What you do with your equal piece is what you do. You either strive or you fall.
mhm,
I'm all about helping Blasians, Mestizos, whoever Eurasians, whatever. But there's going to have to come a point where it's about me and mine. I made the other day when we spoke. I said if there's a mulatto hanging off a cliff and a Blasian hanging off the cliff, I'm going to help that mulatto up first. And then once
mm,
we're both up, we can both grab the Malaysian, so we can all get up off the cliff and go live our lives safely.
mm, mm. I was just, yeah. How do y'all feel about that?
So honestly, nothing triggers me at all. Barely anything, because as you already know me, Crispin, I always go by the whole sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. It certainly will with other people, but the S word honestly is something that I have no
Segregationist.
qualms with at all, though, is
The
just
segregate.
because,
Yeah, that's something we
yeah,
disagree on. Yeah, being
yeah,
like a
this, I'm,
segregationist. That's something where you definitely. But we'll talk
yeah,
about it. We're gonna debate about this. I still want to talk about. We're gonna get into that.
yeah.
Let's
But what I was
let's.
about to say is that, it really also depends on your level of maturity and humility when it actually comes to like attaining a common goal when you two already have a lot of differences.
Mhm.
And it's a matter of whether you two can do that. And if you two can do that, then you guys will have a fruitful relationship. Like, such as me and Jesse, aka Angry Biracial. We
Mhm.
have differences. He is a Muslim. I am a Christian. I don't believe in
Mhm.
the Islamic religion, as he doesn't really believe in the Christian religion, the Bible, and that stuff. But I don't care about that. It's just because me and him are very humble and mature in terms of how we are treating each other. We even communicate off the internet because we have exchanged our personal numbers. We have a great relationship, and I'm very happy to call him another brother from another mother. And I think it's going to continue to be that way. And if people can just make an example out of something like that, then this will be the most fruitful community that we could have ever established. But just not very many people are capable of doing that because, again, they're more in tune with the human flesh and in the human condition as opposed to being in the spirit, if you remember the conversation we had like last Sunday. That's why in our space we need to be also more in the spirit as well as more in humility and maturity if we really want to get things done. But that is just something that a lot of people don't know how to do.
Yeah. Okay. Here's something I want to talk about. There's a point I really want to debate. So I think this is why so many people like shy. They don't really want to be in an exclusive space or exclusive or be only about like like a segregationist, like you said. It feels like it really do feel like it's rooted in racism a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that racism is a part of tribalism? Do you think it is? Like, what do you think?
Personally, I don't. You know, I believe when I speak of segregationists, I strictly mean economic, politically, educational, those things of nature that are going to make and break a community. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
saying segregationist as in, don't go hang out with these people, don't go live with these people. Now, I mean, if a certain group of people all come together and live in a certain area, then that's fine and dandy. You bound to do that. But when I say segregationist, I'm speaking of things that are going to empower us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if we're
Mm.
going to you have the Mosaic brand, you're the ambassador now.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you want to build, and buy from biracials, that's a form of segregation. You're going to buy from
Mm.
them as opposed to from the blacks or the Koreans or anybody else.
Mm.
You're making a conscious effort.
Like promoting biracial businesses is like a
You're,
form of segregationist, you think?
you're making a conscious effort to put them
Mm.
before anybody else to make
Mm.
sure that they get theirs as opposed to anybody else. That's a form of segregationist, as I'm speaking of in terms of a economic standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I never thought of it like that. Really, I guess anything could be like. Here's my thing. Here's my stance on like the tribalism. Anything could be negative or positive, right? Anything could be taken to
Right.
the extreme where it's just like unhealthy and toxic. You know what I'm saying? Because I
Yes.
was just talking about this with my sister's boyfriend. He was talking about he's Mexican and he was talking about border control and stuff like that, right? He was like, yeah, I believe in border control. I believe that we're a country built on like that. That's the argument with for like exclusivity that I hear a lot. Is like a country without borders. You can't have a country without borders, right? And he's saying that you
It,
can't really just have people float over here because there has to be some level of like preservation. At the same time, America, it's always tricky. It's always a balancing act. It's always a balancing game because America is built on like immigrants. You know what I'm saying? Of people like people coming over and helping build this country and make it what it is. We're all descendants of immigrants. We're all descendants of people coming here from somewhere else. And I praise that. We welcome that. We welcome people from other places, but at the same time, it's like we got to have borders and boundaries, and you know what I'm saying? That's the form of tribalism where it's like you got to have those type of boundaries there where it's like, okay, this is what we are, this is what we stand for, this is our values, and if you respect that, if you want to live by that, then okay, I guess you could be welcome in our country, in our community. But at the same time, you know what I'm saying? So it's like it's always
yeah.
like a
Can I
balancing
go?
act, a balancing game. Oh yeah, go ahead, let me stop.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to read something to y'all about Malcolm X, right? So this is Malcolm X views on um, segregation, right? Being voluntary. What Crispin's is describing is voluntary segregation, right? So Malcolm X's view on that is we don't go for segregation, we go for separation. Separation is when you have your own, you control your own economy, you control your own politics, you control your own society, you control your own everything. You have yours and you control yours. We have ours and we control ours. I think that there's a very big difference between saying you want to be separate while still living in society, and there's a difference between, I guess there's a harshness that comes with the word segregation, you know?
No, I agree. But at the same time, sometimes you have to be harsh. I
Yes.
live in reality.
Because like what a lot of people think of whenever they hear the word segregation, they're thinking of somebody such as the old Alabama governor from the
Right,
60s, George
Wallace.
Wallace,
Yeah,
who
there's a negative
famously
connotation
said
there.
Yes.
to
Yep.
segregation today, segregation tomorrow, and segregation forever. So yeah, it comes with a pretty bad connotation.
Well, it's
But then
not.
again, that's why it's good that we're all here to also talk about that. And it's also great that
Yep.
Crispin had actually laid out more input on the root of the word.
I think that even when I'm looking at the definition of segregation, it does indeed have a racial context. So I do think it's a little intellectually dishonest to
And you can
add
say that
that
about
segregation.
anything, though.
Not
Yeah,
everything
but
has a
in the
racial.
context of the
Mhm.
history of this country, I think it would be dangerous and a little bit irresponsible, in my opinion. That's just my opinion, to use such words. I think it is irresponsible. I think that I think the only people who would use that type of term are people who probably have views that are vastly different than mine, I would assume.
That's why we're here. That's exactly why you guys have two opposing views. Like I feel like you kind of agree with me more. Like you're more about inclusivity, and that's why I brought Crispin here because he has a different idea, and he's more about.
So
I don't
then,
know where you stand, George. Or let's say where everybody stands at, and then I want to set the ground rules for like a debate, so we could talk about like our different stances and why we believe. Because you're doing a good job, Crispin, of like saying like why you believe the way you believe. Like I feel like okay, I'm understanding your point of view more because I didn't understand it at first. I'm like, why do people? Why is just I just didn't really I don't know because people haven't really I just didn't really get it, but now I'm like okay, I could kind of see where you're coming from now, you know what I'm saying? I may not agree with it, but I could see it and understand where you're so I googled this. So the ground rules for a healthy debate is treat people with respect first and foremost, right? And challenge the position, not the person. So that's important. But it's hard to separate our ideas from ourselves sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like we are very attached to our ideas and they're a part of ourselves. So that is kind of hard to like navigate sometimes. But listen to one another carefully before responding. Ask for clarification. If needed, gather facts. Don't jump to conclusions. Come to the debate ready to present facts and data, not oppositions. I did not say that word right, but sorry. But uncertain beliefs. That's what that means. So, yeah, but when it comes to Georgia, I would like to know your stance on things. Do you believe in like an exclusive community, or what do you
Yeah, so
think?
that's what I was hoping to just let off of my chest.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead. I want to
So
know.
I'm more about balance because, as
Hmm.
we already know, balance is key.
Yeah.
So just to kind of also piggyback right off of Crispin and Lynn, and even you, now I'm not going to use the word segregation because, unfortunately, at this point, it just has too much of a bad connotation. Even for people who are all about us attaining a distinct category in the census and continuing to advocate for even our civil rights and protection laws, people are just not going to become comfortable with the word at all. Because again, too many people are going to think about George Wallace. And there's just too much damage to be done, or that has been done, to where it's just probably never going to have a good connotation to it. So I prefer the other S word, which is separation. I'm all about separating from others, not in a physical sense, though, but more in an identity sense. So that is, of course, recognizing our distinct identity and not calling ourselves black or white or Asian or this, but just under the mixed race umbrella and getting that recognized as much as other people's identities are recognized, such as, like transgender or black or white or gay. We already know how they actually have a lot of prominent recognition in society. And it's our turn. So I'm all about separation in that sense, but not as far as using the other S word. But at the same time, I am all about self determination, which is what I would have to say is what Crispin is also wanting for us to do. I don't want to put words in your mouth, brother, but I am all about that as well. But I'm just not going to use segregation. But then at the same time, like when it comes to marrying our own or this and that, like I said, I would love to have another woman like me because she would truly understand me 100%. But it's a hit or miss in today's society. But so
Yeah.
if like another white woman ends up coming into my life and we vibe so well, we're that compatible, then I might just go with that. But right now, that's just a huge TBD.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. You better conveyed basically you summed that up very well what I think. Like I think like I'm not, for example, how Mulata was bringing up borders, right? So, for example, I don't support those types of concept of open borders, and there has to be not like lines, but I think that, like you said, Georgia, I just find the usage of the word, like saying, "Oh, I'm pro segregation, I'm pro tribalism," that has like such a historical context, and I don't want to be disrespectful to my country and the citizens of my country. So for me, it's a respect to my country kind of thing. Like I would never be like, To me, it's pot stirring. It's ripping off old band-aids, and that's so. Just for me, it is a matter of respect to not use segregation, separation. I'm all for it. I'm all for us having our own identities. I think it's imperative that we do. I do not think it's fair that mixed people are pigeonholed into being one thing because we are not one thing. Um, I think it is unfortunate that outsiders look in and then we get called all types of anti this and anti that when it's just like, no, we do need our own identities. That's imperative. And, I obviously, like I said before, I think that people who are part white, part black, are part black, part Arab, I think that you guys should definitely build up your own people too. Like, I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. So,
Yeah. Do you have to respond to
Amen.
that, Christmas, before I say something? You want to respond to that, or I got something to say. But
No,
if
go
you want,
ahead. Go ahead.
all
No,
right.
no, no. Go
So
ahead, please.
all of us in these spaces, no matter anybody in these spaces, we can all agree that we need to fight to have a establish our identities, right? That's something we should all be pushing for, no matter what. And no matter if you believe in exclusive spaces, inclusive spaces, if you believe in this, you believe in that, you're a Muslim, you're a Christian, you're light skin, you're dark skin, you're this or that. All of us mixed people in these spaces in particular, not all mixed people want that, but in these spaces in particular, want us to have our identity recognized, acknowledged, and respected, right? We all want to push for that. So that's why I think we should all unite on that common ground of like, okay, we want to push to make sure our identity is respected. We don't have to always sit here and pick a side, and we don't always have to sit here and deny a part of ourselves, or you know what I'm saying? Like we say we're mixed and we're proud, and that's not gonna offend nobody, and people aren't gonna feel like, oh, well, you hate your black side, or none of that BS. We're over it. Like we want to push for establish that being mixed is a respectable thing. It's not just a dirty word. It's not something that's associated with rape and slavery, and just something that's just like not supposed. It's unnatural. Like that one video we watched, how people think that it's unnatural. Like all that stuff. We want to push back on all of that. That's why I think we should all be working together to push back on all of that, right? And that's what I think. That's why I believe in like inclusive spaces and us coming together and making sure like we could all be working together to push back on it and having our identities respected and making sure. But here's another take though. Here's another take. From what I've seen in these spaces, how are we going to practice tribalism when we don't even really have a tribe? I feel like growing up as I don't feel like we really do have like a real tribe. We don't. Like this is us trying to practice tribalism when we're coming together as like mixed people and talk about our issues and stuff. But there's been so much like infighting and drama and this and everyone coming together. Like how we can't even really get along like as a people like that. You know what I'm saying? But how are we gonna? We can't practice tribalism. We don't have a tribe. Like we really don't. Like how are we gonna? What you think about Chris? Because you said you were in mixed spaces since the 2000s, and it was the same things going on, and it
Same
was like
exact thing.
same things. So how are we? We
Same
can't even come
exact
together as like a people.
thing.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like
And I was
it's
going to say that. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
oh, and I was saying about how what brings us together, that we all have like Afro black ancestry, right? Whether your mom's black, your dad's black, your grandpappy, or whatever. And that's what, and it's like even monoracial black people, they have a hard time uniting and coming together. I just watched a video about like Africa, how like, how it was colonized, and they were trying to unite Africa. And these are all like different tribes, and, they all have the same race technically, you know what I'm saying? But they all, have different heritage and backgrounds and culture. It's always something to divide us, always. Even if you're the same race, the same color, the same same gender, we could both be women, we could all have but there's always something. Like that's why I always try to look at both. Like there's always going to be a difference, but there's always going to be something that unites us and ties us together at the same time, and I feel like we always have to look for that. And it has to be an intentional thing to always try to look for what could unite us and try to come and to bring us together. It's such hard work because, like I said, it's so easy to divide people, but it's very, 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 very hard to like build people, bring people together, because it takes trust, right? Without trust, you don't have nothing. Without trust, you can't really build a community. If you don't trust each other, you guys don't really, and that it's so easy to break trust like that, but it's hard to build it up. So that's why it's such a struggle to try to unite. And but I do think we need to intentionally find those like common grounds and find common causes and common things that will benefit us all. So yeah, that's all I gotta say about it. We go ahead.
You want something to say, Len? I'll let you go first while I pile up my thoughts.
uh, wasn't Crispin about to say something?
Yeah, Crispin, I would like to hear.
Do you have a
Yeah.
thought?
Okay, so what I was going to say was, basically ask is, why did the original peoples come together as tribes anyway?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a good question. And think about that.
It's self-preservation. It's about resources. And that's why I always get back to, it's always going to come down to about what we can get for ourselves and each other. You come together as a tribe for self-preservation, to eat, to have water, to have whatever you need in order to get through life. People came together as tribes because everybody could do something a little bit different, a little bit better. So you can do this better than me, cool. You handle that, you can handle this, and that's how they came together. It wasn't necessarily all family. It wasn't necessarily all the same lineage. So that's where we need to come and get to, right now is, okay, who wants to preserve themselves this way? Who wants to preserve themselves that way? Yada, 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 yada. And that's where you get the same understanding and you start moving forward. From there, you can build a culture. Well, we like this type of music. We like this type of art. We like this type of spice in our food, this, that, and the third. And that's how you build a culture. That's how tribes built their culture, eventually became nations, countries, whatever.
Um,
Great
I
points.
think I think in this context, tribalism is definitely race based. So, um, that's because that's literally what's being promoted on the table. Um, Me personally, uh, I'm starting to wonder if this is more of a I don't want to offend anyone, but like the cliche women just being coded to have more compassion and be more empathetic.
Yes,
Because
yeah.
More nurturing, more
yeah,
nurturing.
Yeah.
well,
Yes,
I
Yeah.
that's,
think that
yeah.
Yep.
that's why it is important to have. I agree with you on the whole. Everyone has something to offer and bring to the table. That's why it is very important to equally listen to men and women because we definitely bring different flavors to the table, right? But for me personally, um, I I love for people to embrace their cultures. Like I live for that, right? Because I'm trying to be invited to all the cookouts, right? I want to know and be up and through all the good food, all the good vibes, all of that.
Facts. I agree.
But I also like me personally when I'm going when I'm in my world that I build up in my head, and I'm going to slay the last boss known as systemic racism. I'm not like, oh, but the Blasians gotta eat first. Mulattoes get behind us. I'm not thinking like that. I'm like, oh, all right, so we all finna eat, right? I don't have the concept of, if I look to the right, mulatto gonna be taking food off my plate. I don't have that
Same. I
I
don't
don't
Hmm.
think
get
like that.
I feel
Same.
like that defensiveness, I guess.
I don't think
Um,
it's a defensiveness, but go ahead.
I think it is because I think it's like kind of like what separates, I guess, essentially prey from predator, right? Um, and
But
that's
that's the
why,
nature of the universe.
right. So what I'm saying is, for me, to me, when I hear someone speaking the way that you speak, it kind of makes me get like anxiety because I'm like, oh my God, like, are we running out of resources? Do we now have to start hoarding resources? You feel me? So
No, I
I
don't.
don't,
I'm sorry, I don't mean to do that, but I'm just speaking. Like I said, politically, economically, resources can expand. Across a broad
like
spectrum.
you gave an example, and it kind of threw me through a loop, right? So, first of all, I mean this with no disrespect, right, to anyone.
I'm
Um,
thick skinned. Go say what you need to say.
Your example was about basically the government giving handouts to mixed people. And who would I prefer to go out to first? I don't want that shit. I don't want no handout scraps from the man. I don't want that.
Yeah.
I'm better than that. And I'm not about to fight amongst the better people of color to see which one of us should battle out to the death for some scraps. That's not my style. I'd rather blow it all to Haiti. That's what I'd rather do and start all
And
over
see, but
again.
that wasn't my point though. What I was saying is when people start speaking of being recognized and have a census and this, that, and third. You take censuses in order to, build a budget basically. And, you give certain people different benefits, whatever, whatever, whatever. My point is, and is, if there is a just one mixed group on the census being recognized, you're going to throw whatever at a certain group of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, once
Mm-hmm.
you throw, and I'm not looking for a handout. I'm very much government reform, probably more than you. But my point is, once they do that and just throw, this whole mixed group of people, these, like I said, these scholarships, right? That's going to cause more division once you just throw it to a group of, whole bunch of mixed people, as opposed to saying, okay, you get this share, you get this share, you get this share, you get this share.
But my
That's what I'm
question
that's
is,
what I'm saying. I'm not
my
asking
question,
for no handout. I'm making a point as to when
yes.
people say they want representation and have the census thing going, it's more than just, oh, hey, I'm here, this is my identity. No, you're
See,
talking now in political standpoints, and it's a different ballgame.
I think when it comes to what you're speaking about, for me, the issue when I have with, and not even an issue, that's not the word, but personally, I think, like when I listen to people, here's an example. When I listen to people getting mad about like Disney should have to be responsible for making a black princess, right? Like to me, I'm sorry, that's absurd. I
Yeah,
believe
it's
that there
stupid.
are enough black creatives that need to be writing black stories for little black girls, because then what
Exactly.
had turned around and happened was, oh, now we got the first black princess, but she's a frog 99.9% of the movie. So it's
Oh
like
my
this.
God, right?
I love
More
Cleo. Don't get
importantly,
me
is
wrong.
that like things need to be written in the perspective of the actual people, not by others who have never experienced that flight. Well, not that flight, but
Mm-hmm.
that plight.
Absolutely.
Plight is the word
100%.
I was
Yep.
looking for. So, like, you notice how, like, so that whole The Woman King movie, it was written by two white women and produced by such. Why couldn't it be produced by two black women who could share it in the black African or the black Nubian princess perspective? That would have been a whole lot better as opposed to having someone else do it who doesn't even share that plight or that experience. Same
No,
principle should
that's
even
true.
apply to
That's
us.
like a form of tribalism, right? We want our perspective respected, right? We want, stories being told correctly from our perspectives. You know what I'm saying? So that's like kind of like a form of tribalism. Like that's us as mixed people. We want that, because we're always having our story being told or blackwash or whitewash or like we're written out of it or like our history's completely gone and forgotten and nobody's really there to tell the story because nobody really cared about it because it's not the dominant groups of the time story. It's like we're a minority group, right? So it's like it's up to us to like preserve our stories, and I guess that is like a form of like tribalism, I guess, like that. I do want us to
Exactly.
make sure our stories are preserved and that we are able to tell our own experiences from our own perspectives and not from somebody else's perspective that will never experience what we experience. So I definitely like think that is a big thing about like representation, like what you said, making sure like we're not. I don't know. Do you guys feel like mixed people are? I don't know. I feel like we do have a lot of representation in sports and entertainment, right? We do have a lot of and in political area. We have Camilla Harris and Obama, right? So we do have we do have good representation. I think we do. At the same time, like when it comes to like our stories being told accurately in our history, that's something that we got to work on. You know what I'm saying? That's an area that I do think that we need to make sure that biracial mixed people are telling their stories accurately from, and having them. That's why and having fashion creators or even like people who are just creating things for mixed people, making sure we're pushing that, that I guess that is something that I, as a part of tribalism, I do want to embrace, I guess, making sure that, that's preserved in us, that we're supporting biracial business owner. That's something I do agree with, of course, and that's something that I do want us to, because that's something, look, that's something that affected me, because it's like, everybody has ambition, and I've always seen, when I was like, in black spaces before I found mixed spaces, it was like, I always see them like supporting, oh, support this black woman, support this business, support this business, support this. But I always knew I would never get that same type of support because I'd always question myself, like I remember like trying to do like a little crystal business, at one point or whatever, and I was debating. I was like, yo, because they had like blackowned.com, and I was like, yo, I don't think I would feel right like going on here because I feel like some people would because they identify, but I know I never denied the fact I'm half white. I'll never sit here and be like whatever, but I was like, I can't really go on there. I feel like people would not really want me on there. They wouldn't really want to support a biracial person, even though, you know what I'm saying? Because it's so quick to be like, oh, you're not black, you're biracial. So why would I support a biracial? You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's like important for us to have our community, so we could like do have that type of tribalism, I guess, because people do want to keep the money in their own communities, I guess, because it benefits them. Like people are always motivated. People are selfish inherently, right? We want to do things that benefit us, right? So I guess that is the root of tribalism, is selfishness, because well, it's not selfishness, but it is self preservation, right? It is like making sure that like my community is a community and a tribe. It's almost the same thing, right? is there
I
is
think
there a
that
difference?
I think that the better word for that would be collective.
Yeah,
That we
Collective.
have
I
to
agree.
strive to be a
That's like a modern
collective
day
because if
tribe, right?
there's yeah, because if people are falling into that whole like selfish individualistic nature of the US, then we won't even go anywhere remotely. But if we could actually develop a sense of a collective agency, then we'll actually get somewhere. But a lot of our people
Yeah,
just don't have that mentality. And that's why you see a lot more
Hmm.
division than unity.
I
Yeah, we
agree
don't have that
with
collective.
the.
Yeah, we don't have a collective identity. We really don't. We really
I,
don't, and that's why. Oh, go ahead.
I don't. I think that when some people hear us saying a collective identity, I think that especially like when I listen to Crispin talk, he's talking preservation, and I understand that people bring this up because I can understand how it can appear like it's like, oh, okay, but if we all just say we're mixed, then what about my actual culture, right? I think that if we are presenting to the outside world, right? Because like this is more of an inner community problem. Do you think that when people from the outside looking in are going to be like, oh, well, the mulattoes versus the Blasians, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, the mixed people are going at it again. You get what I'm saying? So I feel like, as far as the way everyone's presenting as a collective to the world, for the world to even begin to take us serious as a unit, we have to start on the foundational ground of us being mixed. I think no matter what your admixture is, I think that that's somewhere we can all meet. That there has to be some type of meeting point, or else what are we going to do? Because I understand that tribalism is more of a neutral word. I understand that, but collective is a much better word to use. But my thing is, it's like Malata said, where will the separation end? Because if you're coming in and you're coming out the gate and I'm on some fuck everybody, Blasians only, Blasians rule, we're rock stars, yeah, baby. If I'm like that, how can I then be like, how can I then come into a pro mixed space and then be like, oh, but and what about the Blasians? And basically, like, just trying to overtalk everyone, basically. And not saying that that's what you're doing, but to me, that's how I would feel if I did that, basically. Like, if I push for further separatism, and either way it's going to naturally happen, right? Like, it's not, and that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing that the mulattoes want things for the mulattoes. It is not a bad thing that the Blasians will want things for the Blasians. It is not a bad thing that the Arabs, the black Arabs, will want for them. That's not what I'm saying is wrong, but I do think that words matter. And I think that
Actions
I think
matter.
actions matter too, but words do matter also, because I think
Words are
that
powerful. Yeah, I
yeah, and
agree.
it's just like
They're as
But
powerful as you
you want
make
to
them.
know what? But you want to know what? Like they used to say back in the times, there was a time and place for everything, right? So there was a time and place for the Martin Luther Kings, but you did definitely need the Malcolm X to come through. You feel me?
Yep,
So
yep.
I think that I'm more in a neutral zone because I do strongly believe in radical revolutionary actions. I do believe in that. Um, but I also understand that sometimes you cannot always fight coming out the gate being aggressive. Sometimes you can reach more ears being kind and soft. And so I think that the men should, get to doing what men do and, start breaking stuff and, whatever else they do.
Yeah, it's a soft power, right? It's like a
Yeah,
it's
I'm,
soft
I'm
power.
totally resting in my soft power.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. I really don't want to be aggressive and it's fighting. I leave that to the men. You know, y'all could be all about that all day. You know, I really want to. All I'm about is community building. You know, I guess that's more like a. I don't know. I just want to make sure the community's taken care of and that we're all like,
Hmm.
I try my
Right.
best. Like, I try my best to just try to bring the community together. A lot of people don't like that about me, but I try. Like, I guess that's just natural. That just comes naturally
That
to me because
that that might be more of a gendered thing, right? Because
hmm
let's be real, it'd be much hotter if the guys went and did what, the old back in the day
go fight
Viking
and
dudes
kill.
do. Yeah, go kill some people for me. That's so hot.
And then when I say something like that, I get called a hater. I get told I don't care about other people. I get told, I'm
It
this, that, and the third.
depends. Like,
So
are
no,
you
it
are you
doesn't.
being
Like I said,
Hard.
it doesn't
are you truly
depend. Where
babying?
does it?
Are we
Where?
harming women and children? If you're not harming women and children and
Go
you're
hunt a
only harming
deer
other
and bring
men,
back a deer, something like that. You
oh
know,
yeah.
don't go
Because
pillage and
you told you that I have a fuck you attitude.
Oh, who said that?
no, no, no. It's
You
just
did.
about your
You just
militant
said.
attitude. No, it's
You
about the
just said it,
militant
didn't you?
attitude.
You
Men are
you
more
basically.
militant, more with it. That's all, right? That's what.
I didn't wait. Hold on. What happened? I'm still
You,
confused.
you,
You
Whoa,
Yeah,
I
said
think a miscommunication happened
yeah.
here.
Nobody said you had a
First,
fucking
yeah, you're
attitude.
right, man. No, no, just relax. It
Yeah,
wasn't a
nobody
big
said
deal.
that.
hey,
Yeah, no one. Nah, it was miscommunication.
nobody. First off, nobody's upset here. I'm asking a question.
Okay.
Okay. So
Yes.
don't tell me to calm. Please don't tell me to calm down because that's not where I'm at. I'm
All right.
asking a simple question.
Mhm.
It was stated. When talking, and so what I'm asking is, you stated something, about me, and then went into a well. I don't want to have a fuck you attitude. So I'm asking, are you attributing this to me? And if you are, what makes you think that I have that attitude? When I've constantly said I'm about helping other people along the way.
I guess for me, like I said to you, for me, it's hard to separate the two. Like, I guess, like I said, it's because the words that you're using, and that's why I'm saying words matter. Words are powerful. So when you're coming up to me, if let's be real, if a white man comes up to you and is like, "Oh, I'm pro segregation," you're gonna look at him and be like, you're gonna be like, "Chad, what the hell did you just say to me? What the
Actually,
hell
I'm
did?"
not. To be totally
Okay,
real
well,
with you,
see, then
I'm not.
that's you. Then that's you.
I'm,
So
I'm, I'm going to take him as what he is and keep moving about my business.
and what is that? What would he be?
He'd be somebody who had his own thing. Let him do what he needs to do. As long as he's not hindering me from getting what I want and need, I could give a damn what he thinks or believes.
But if he's pro
And, and
segregation, he wouldn't even want you in his space.
I
And
do
that's
have
why I
something to
said,
say about that, just to like piggyback right off of you two. So yeah, again, yeah, Len, if somebody comes up to my face and literally says that, like if a black dude or white dude or Asian dude says that to me, yeah, it's just not going to
I'm looking
create a good
crazy too.
impression in my head
You like,
at all. It's not at all. But then at the same time, I'm not going to care one bit at all because I'm never going to see this guy again. This dude is irrelevant and he has no power. And I'm just going to kick that dust off my feet and just keep it moving because he's not going to impede my progress or what I have going on because this dude is powerless.
it translates as somebody's like, oh, like if somebody came to my face was like, oh yeah, I'm pro segregation, I'm pro this, and they were like different from me. It translates as I'm against you. I want to push you away. I want you away from me. I don't want nothing to do with you. I'm against you. you know what I'm saying? That's how it always translates to, and it makes it feel like, oh, he's an immediate threat to
Yeah.
me because, you
It's
know,
It
So
just
then,
does.
yeah,
why
that's how
It
it kind
wouldn't
of.
does.
why would
It
why
does
wouldn't
so,
you have
but
to
it wouldn't
clarify?
bother me because again, this guy's not in any position of power. He probably never will be because, like I said, most people are just not going to get
yeah.
on board with that. Though our people are just not going to do that, and even their people are not going to do that at all either. Because most people just want to live normal lives, and they can't do that if they're thinking so much about a term that is just never going to conjure up any kind of good connotation. So then
Yeah,
I
I
just move
think
on from there.
I hear what you're saying, but that's more like a individual kind of thing. I mean, on a grand scale of things, that's why I it's for me it is semantics, I guess, because when I think segregation as an American person, I don't think of anything good. I think of racism when I hear the word segregation. And
Yeah, you think of fire hoses, people being sprayed down, like
yeah,
people marching. You know, those are the images that comes to mind. So,
I
you
mean,
know,
I think about all of it. I think about how Mexican people were treated. I think about how Japanese people were put in concentration camps. I think about all of that. I think about how Muslim people were treated back during 9/11. I think of all of that. So it's just kind of like, I mean, why would you even want to especially as someone who's patriotic and I love my country, I just kind of feel like to the ancestors, especially who have died for this country, who have put in the work, it's not giving, not for me at least.
I would even like to also say so now even for somebody who can even be a bit racist is probably not going to really want to get on board with that because they know that it just carries too much bad impressions behind it and too much bad connotations to where they're just going to want to be left alone by everybody and just do their own thing and not even think about stuff like that. So even if you have even like you're probably your racist out there who's just not going to even want something like that, then how would that idea even remotely come to fruition?
what would you
I
say? Hold on, I was
also
coming.
I saw a comment that said that having a mixed space is not tribalism. I agree. I do not believe that having a mixed space is tribalism. I believe that that's my genetic blood, and if I want to go around other people who have a different type, who have similar genetic blood, that is more of a, well, no, I mean, if you want to talk in literal terms of labeling, yeah, it is a tribe, right? But
Mhm. Because we can't escape it. Like,
it doesn't become a tribe. It doesn't necessarily become a tribe until you start actually separating by Blasian and mulatto and all of that. So that's why I say for
But
it to
unless
be a
you call yourself strictly human and you call yourself Blasian, you're
we
participating.
can't. Yeah, I agree with him because I feel like we could, like, that video I dropped about like Jordan Peterson breaking out how do we escape tribalism. It's like, to escape tribalism, we got to stop getting in groups, right? And it's like we can't do that as human beings. Like we have to have some type of group. Like right now, we're in like a group. Right now, we have to have some type of socialization. We have to have some type of group or some type of thing. Like we need that as human beings. We're social creatures, right? So it's like, but at the same time, it's like we have to transcend above our group because we need that.
mm-hmm,
That's another level. We have to transcend above our group and actually become, because what is a great tribe or a great group of people is individuals that excelled, right? So we do need those individuals that like completely accept responsibility for themselves and they excel in the world and they excel in whatever their field is and stuff like that. That's going to help contribute to the tribe and make it better because like a group is like a fixed thing, you know what I'm saying? It's like they have one way of life or one way of being or one way, and it's like it's a fixed thing. So if you only identify with your group forever and you don't really, and like I feel like mixed people, I feel like we're good at individualism because I feel like we've gone without a tribe. Like we don't really have, we're tribeless people and now we're trying to form one now. But most of my life it's like been me, myself, and I, and just like, always just seeing myself as an individual and who I vibe with is my tribe. Like I'm the vibe attracts your tribe type of person, like whoever I'm
mm-hmm,
vibing with, that's how I'm cool with. That's gonna be my people, right? It don't matter their color or whatever, as long as we cool and we vibing, we could talk and we could be respect. That's cool. That's my people right there, right? Whatever space I'm in, I could always
agreed.
find somebody that I could vibe with and I could freaking be chill with, and So that being said, I don't think we could escape tribalism. Like I think, but at the same time, I think there has to be a healthy, positive way to express it, where it doesn't, that because we in America especially, we've seen how horrible and negative and toxic and dead. Like the worst form of tribalism leads to like genocide and ethnic cleansings and all these crazy stuffs
Mhm.
that happen.
Mhm.
So that's scary to us. That's very, and we're very aware of these things in America. You know what I'm saying? How horrible, our ancestors got on our black side got treated through this extreme form of tribalism that the KKK wanted to enforce and make sure, like, they have to put these black people in, like, that's scary. That's like,
Yeah,
whoa,
even
they're
before
way
that.
extreme,
But
you
that's
know.
human nature. That's
But
happened
we've
all
never
over the
seen
world.
It
the
is.
Yeah, but
But then
when we
also,
had
Yes,
done
it's
that, when
happened
we
it's
had
all
scary
over the
done
though.
that,
world since
But
the
we have
beginning
to
there's
of
evolve at
time.
some time too. We
Yeah.
have to like put ourselves in check and
Is
be like,
it,
hey, even white people, look, I could give white people
that's
credit
part of your
for
nature.
self-correction. No, we got to give white people credit for self-correction because they did look at that and be like, hey, we're not going to do this no more. So 20 years, we don't have the KKK around no more worrying about that. Of course, there's still
They didn't. They
racism
don't teach
around, but
you.
they
They have the
still
government. They have the police. They have
but
everybody
there is
else.
still a level of self-correction where it's like, okay, this is what we're doing is wrong. So we have to evolve past this. We got to stop doing this. We got to stop, treating people like this. We got to stop doing this. Of course, the black people had to fight for it and actually like demand it. You know what I'm saying? But
I think
eventually, like social change happened.
I think all of this, like, I do believe things of human nature to extent, but I think sometimes people get lazy and brush things off as human nature because, like, I can say anything's human nature. I listen to men on the internet advocate for being with teenagers. I could say,
That's true.
that is in men's nature to be creepy. I can say that. I could say that, and plenty of
Or
men. I can.
impregnate 50
I can
women.
yeah, I could pull up the receipts of men that will basically
Good
indirectly
point.
be confirming what I'm saying. So I think that we have to be careful when we just dismiss things as, oh, well, that's just human nature. Because it's like, it's also 2022. We know better. So if we know better, we got to do better. You feel
Do
I
you
me?
agree with
know
that. And to
better?
say, oh yeah, and I agree with that. And to say, oh, is that Al? Hi, Al. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. Is that Al? Okay. But I just want to say something about that real quick. Caesar Cannon, the person who like started, the Golden Sphere, and he started a movement before us or whatever. He made a video talking about how we need to be in our higher nature, and I agree with that. I think human beings, we have a lower nature of like that's animalistic, that's like instinctual, that based on survival, that's based. But we do have a higher nature and a higher mind that we should be striving towards. Whether that's through spirituality or that's through you just trying to be a good person or whatever it is. I think that as human beings, like that's the nature of all things is to evolve and to grow, right? You have to evolve and grow to adapt. It's a survival of the fittest, meaning that whoever fit in the most, whoever's adapted the most is going to win. So we always have to strive to like adapt to a better way of life. So I think that yes, human nature, like tribalism, like that's very much human nature, right? And we have to also try to strive and redefine it and make sure make sure it's working to our benefit and not to our detriment like it has in the past. You know what I'm saying? We got to make sure that we know, like, okay, this is good, let's throw this out. We can't throw the baby out with the bathwater, but we got to say, hey, this is good to practice. Like, hey, we're gonna support businesses, we're gonna support our, what I'm saying, this is a good practice, but maybe shaming and hating other people, that's not a good practice whatsoever. That's not going to work for nobody. You know what I'm saying? There's good practices that we need to keep and we throw out the bad. That's what I'm all about as a mixed person. I take that with both cultures. Like I'm white, black. So with white culture, I take the good, I throw the bad. With black, I take the good, throw out the bad. That's what we have to do as mixed people because we're two products of like different cultures and we have to take the good, throw out the bad, right? So,
Can I
yeah.
share something?
so I just want to say really quickly,
That's
yeah,
Toenail Breaker. Hi, Toenail Breaker. Sorry, I just wanted to welcome him real quick. Hello.
hey, Toenail.
Thank you for
Hey,
being
what's
here.
up, everyone, and good evening.
I appreciate you being on the panel. Thank you.
Yeah, so got to drop off, guys, but it's been a special privilege speaking with you guys as usual.
And wonderful.
Yes,
Oh
good
my
evening.
gosh. Oh my God. Thank you for being here, Georgia. I always love you. I always appreciate you, my brother, and I appreciate you being here. I always love your input, and I wish you could come back. If you could come back, okay? Because we're gonna keep this thing riding. We're gonna there's a lot to unpack here, so I don't know how long we're gonna be here, but it's a lot. But
It's just
yeah,
it's dinner time.
have a good
But yeah,
dinner.
anytime, yeah, but yeah, the feeling is gonna always be profoundly mutual. And you
Of
guys have a
course.
blessed night.
Thank you
You
so
too,
much.
man.
Can I say
Right.
something?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So Andrew, I'm gonna read something and then I'm gonna give solutions for Crispin. Okay.
Crispin
Um,
doesn't need solutions.
Oh, well, I meant on my end, a solution. So, um, according to andrews.edu, ethnicity is therefore blah, 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 blah. Hold on. Tribalism is the attitude and practice of harboring such a strong feelings or loyalty or bonds to one's tribe that one excludes or even demonizes those who are other than them. So I think that's the issue with the word tribalism is that it does have a propensity to be negatively stigmatized. So I was thinking, what if we used words like conforming? How do we feel about conforming? Because if we frown upon,
Conforming. We're
no,
just
Okay.
conforming our
no, no,
people.
no.
Fine.
We're
I'm
giving
being,
out
Conforming,
information.
conforming is
I like that.
fine. The actions
That
will
works for
still be
me.
the same.
It would be the same actions, right? But yeah. But we have to figure out
So,
at the same
so, so,
time
so we're worried
what's good and then
really
what's
more
what we not
so
agree
than
with.
the moving of the movement.
no, well, no, I get, like I said, I think what Magic Mulata said and what I was saying earlier about like those words having a more of a historical context when you look at it, and that's why I think we should hold off on certain words due to respect because we don't want to
Yeah,
then turn around and make other people feel disrespected. I don't
I
want to
agree.
come through the door disrespecting other races of people. That's my thing.
I'm a rock with conforming. I'm a rock with that one. I'm gonna see where that goes.
Or
I
not,
think that's good.
or not even conforming, because conforming necessarily kind of could be stigmatized too. What about collectivism?
Collectivism. I'll rock with that too. But yeah, let's let Tonal Breaker. Hi, I always love you on the pit. You always have great insight. So I'd love to hear your input on the conversation and what do you think about things?
Well, first of all, apologies for not coming on a little bit earlier to catch things from the get-go beginning. So I'm just kind of eavesdropping and just catching up probably half of the conversation. So tribalism is a very extremely strong word to use, especially in a country where we have an overlapping culture. A couple of things that we want to be able to, where we're struggling with is in this conversation is that we're looking at culture. First of all of us here are speaking English. We're not speaking a language that belongs exclusively for us or that we invented. We are speaking the language of our ancestors. For those of us who have white ancestry or Anglo ancestry, you are speaking English outside of the United States when we are roaming around. For those of us whom are ambiguous, regardless, when they hear us speaking English, they associate us and they call us Americans. They don't say the Black American, the mixed race of American, the whatever American, etc. They just refer you to as American, unless for some particular reason they mix you up with someone else. Especially, I know someone in here is Blasian, and you might be you might get confused with somebody else over who has the similar phenotype as yourself somewhere in Southeast Asia or so on, because lots of Southeast Asian people that are dark skinned have that Asian Indian phenotype in certain parts of the world, not which does not, where here in the United States it's not labeled as black or anything associated with black. So the term tribalism is a very extremely strong word. And one of the things that we need to evaluate is, well, what culture do we have? A culture? Yeah, we do have a culture. A lot of people saying we don't have a culture. Yes, we do have a culture. It's more than like it's an overlapping culture in that particular sense because of the melting pot of a country that we are in. Because we run into different sources of people, we adopt different practices, beliefs, etc., from others. And a lot of this is also too merged into one. Like for myself, I actually look at myself as being multicultural because I adopt a lot of cultural aspects from people around the world because that's the access that I have. But we'll leave it like that. I'll leave it with that thought and see where it progress from here.
Yeah, so I am Blasian, but I have a very diverse family. So I guess that also contributes to why I don't see the need to go representing to the masses of people. I don't feel the need to start separating. I think that that would be it would be um, compromising the mission before it even starts, in my opinion. Because I think that if we storm the Capitol, right? Let's say we did that. Let's say that was in our nature. And we're like, oh, Asians, we want our own category. Mulattoes want their own category. Douglas want their own category. Everyone's gonna be like, okay, what the fuck's going on? You know what I mean? It would be overwhelming. And I did notice that for a while now there's been an option to pick being a mixed race person on the census. So I mean, I know they also have some censuses will have other where you can write in whatever it is you want to write. So I mean, I guess just like Toenail Breaker agreed. I just think that the word is just like it's just too much. It's too much. It's too much. Given the context of this country, it's just too much, in my opinion.
So here's some other food for thought. There is a projection in the census as people are as ourselves, and it which is coded in the census as, again, if you choose two or more races, you basically go into this category. This called the mixed race category. It's coded like this inside of the census. Now, separating that information is kind of tricky because then you'll have to go a little bit and pulling the record out and being able to see who is black and white, who's black and white versus black and Asian versus Asian versus white and Indian and so on. But the projection of the future is that we as a group, as a mixed race group, regardless of what you're mixed with, will become the dominant racial group later on in the future. So, what America is doing is its projection is less and less becoming a white perspective or a black perspective. It's now focusing on what's going to come in the future, that America is now the white population is going to become a minority. The black population is, well, it's going to stay a minority, and then the mixed race will become one big large group. We will become the dominant racial group within the United States, but it's called mixed race. And to hear talks like this is frightening and scary because all my life I wanted to be around diversity. I love diversity. Diversity equals progression, especially in a country especially in a country that I see now today is now assimilating people from all backgrounds into its one fold. So when you really think about it, and the talk of segregation and separating, you become, in a sense, is it become it those are threatening tones. Even when I hear black people speak like that, it's a threat to me because I am not going to deny one part of my side or the universalism in myself and the multiculturalism embedded within myself to side with you or to go pro anything. One of the things we also have to keep in mind that being mixed race, we are a converging race. That means we would eventually we can go anywhere, anyway, any direction away of phenotype of our ancestor of our offspring from after us can go anywhere. They can start to look black. They can become white. They become Indian. They can become Asian phenotype. I'm talking about in phenotype wise. So is again, it really needs to the talk about this is really extremely scary. My opinion on it, and using the terminology segregation to being a segregist or to segregate to depart from other people. The minute you do this, you're not going to be able to move forward. It has been proven. I think then someone I was watching. I'm Magic Mulatto. I think it was you that posted the video by Tyson. Proved the
Yep.
point. History. Baghdad. Baghdad in Baghdad's historical history, pre-Islamic and post-Islamic, being that the nation was diverse, was able to progress. There is no nation on the face of the earth was able to progress like how in that part of the world when they were diverse, when they had lots of diversity and able to progress in science and advance in science and so on, science and medicine, etc., to move forward, to move the human beings forward. What what caused everyone to come to a pause, including the Islamic Empire, is when people wanted to put in strict terms, started to isolate, and then say, no, you can't do this anymore. It is haram. You can't do this anymore. Then what you have is that instead of people becoming thinkers and want to innovate and go and move forward, well, you have these extremists that step in and now put down these rules that you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this. And although it's for making progression, but here comes the Europeans now, who are not restricted by these particular rules, sort of, was able to take these sciences and progress, and with them, which became what they are today. But I'll leave the talks with you guys from there.
Absolutely love that because I believe in diversity. I'm comfortable in diversity. I'm comfortable with people thinking differently. I'm comfortable with people looking differently than me. I'm comfortable. I feel like we thrive, like as mixed people. I feel like we thrive in diversity so much. So I'm like, what do we look like trying to be exclusive when it's like I feel like I thrive in diversity so much. I feel like we all have a piece of the puzzle. We need different people. That's what a community is. All different type of people bringing their certain set of skills and certain viewpoints and certain things to the table and making it work, right? That's what community is. We're trying to meet each other's needs. Like I could cook good, or this person could sew good, this person could go hunt, this person could go do this other thing. We all have different things that we bring to the table that we all that's diversity right there. Like what if we all had one skill set or one different, so it's like that's why I love what you're saying. I love that post by Neil I love that post by him because I just it affirms what I believe. Like definitely I believe that diversity is healthy and positive, especially diversity of thought and making sure that we can that's why I love these type of conversations. We all have different viewpoints and different things we think and different perspectives. We could all come together and talk about it and keep what's good and throw out the bad, and we could debate about it, be like, hey, this will work for us and this won't work for us, you know what I'm saying? And then we can move forward and we could continue to grow as a people, as a community like that, right? So anybody else got anything to say about that?
Yeah, I want to ask, why is it okay? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I just want to welcome. Hi, Cynical One. How you doing? Thank you for coming to the panel. I appreciate you. Just wanted to welcome her real quick. You go ahead, Crispin.
So, why is it okay that Jewish people separate themselves? Why is it okay that Koreans separate themselves? Why is it okay that Italians separate themselves? Both politically, community wise, economically. But whenever somebody of a mixed background or black background starts to speak that, then it's a problem. When everybody else does it, everybody else has achieved and gained from it. But whenever these two groups do it, it becomes a problem.
You guys hear me?
Yeah, I can
Hold
hear
on.
you.
Turn your mic up a little bit. Hold on. Let me see.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you want to respond to that?
Oh, sorry, I was like messing with my mic. So run it back. I'm sorry, Crispin.
I asked, why is it okay for Jewish, Koreans, Italians, Japanese, anybody who separates themselves politically, community-wise, and economically, it's okay when they separate themselves. But whenever people of mixed backgrounds, whenever people of black backgrounds start to do it, then it becomes an issue.
I don't think so. I think that might just be more so first and foremost, I think mixed people, no matter what their mix is, I've even heard Asians talk about feeling the same push and pull and the pick a side, the whole shebang. I think that
That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking about, economics, political, community wise. When they separate, it's okay. It's deemed as
I'm
good for
getting to your
them.
answer.
They're
I'm getting to
going.
the answer you want. The issue is we're gonna start with American history, and it's gonna be how mulattoes basically had the right to identify as mulatto taken away from them. Um, it should have been up to mulattoes whether that was offensive. It should have been their decision to make, and people shouldn't have been allowed to hijack or think that it's their place to say how they try to identify. That's where a lot of that stems from.
Again, I'm not speaking on identity. I'm not talking about identity at all. As I stated, community, economics, and politics.
Okay, so then the question is, why
That's been
haven't
my
we
whole
separated
thing. That's been
that?
my whole thing the whole time.
Think it's okay as long as you're not hurting other people, because we in America, like when we think of segregation, that's hurting black people, that's hurting like killing them and lynching them and segregating from them, and like it's hurt the black community so much. So we're so like we haven't seen a healthy, like when you say Jewish people, Korean people, they probably do it in a healthy way that we're not really exposed to, that we don't really see, like that we're not really taught like that, you know what I'm saying? So it's like I think I'm so about like like you say, being a collective and focusing on your collective and in a healthy way where it doesn't hurt other people, right? So maybe, yeah, and like supporting your collective and making sure they their businesses are thriving and they're established and that they're respected and they got that collective pull, like you said, that collective power, so that like if something happens to them, that they're going to support their people and they're going to make sure, okay, no, we're going to really defend our people, and we're going to come. And just like how Americans, like if you go mess with American, they're going to go, they're going to get their people, they're going to send the military, they got that power or whatever.
Can I?
So
Can
it's
I?
about,
Can I?
yeah, go ahead.
I think that the issue with what you're saying is that I think as of right now, it would probably conflate. It would not conflate. It would probably thank you. It probably wouldn't be good for us in infancy of establishing an arrival identity, basically. So if you're over here and you're like basically trying to be like, if you're literally talking about something you want to segregate from other mixed people, then I kind of feel like, why are you in a pro mixed space? Because
Again, when have you not heard me say that I am about helping other mixes? When have you ever heard me say that I'm not?
okay, but then that's where the next issue comes from of using the word segregation, because when an American hears the word segregation, we're not thinking of we're not thinking of separatism. We're not thinking of that. We're thinking of bad, negative things, no matter
But you
what
do
race you
separate
are.
things every day.
Uh, I think you're missing my point. I think
No, I
that
think you're missing my point.
no, you're missing my point because my point is that we shouldn't be calling it segregation. That's my point.
And again, actions speak louder than words. When these maggots came out here to San Diego 3 years ago, they came out here trying to cause problems because Mexicans have their flag raised at Chicano Park. It's a big deal. Mexicans was out there, Black Israelites were out there, Brown Berets were out there, I was out there. There's a whole group of different people out there fighting this one entity of white supremacy. So it's not about only thinking about self, okay? I'm strictly, like I stated many a times, I'm strictly speaking from a political, economic, community standpoint. I don't hate nobody. I don't sit here and think I'm better than anybody. I don't sit here and think we deserve more than somebody. I'm speaking from a realistic standpoint of that. When you try to group everybody under one mixed banner, it's going to cause more problems down the road. We can all work together and we can all be separate at the same time.
So why not just lead and say that though? Why
That's what
be
I've been
like,
saying the whole time. You're
You
getting
said
mad at the
you
word.
led the
You're getting
conversation
mad at
saying
the
you're a
word.
segregationist.
You're getting mad at the word as opposed to the action. I've been had
Yeah,
boots on the
because
ground.
as an
I've been
American that has
out there.
respect for my
I've been out
ancestors,
there with boots on the ground.
that's fine. I'm a woman.
Actions
I'm a
speak.
woman. I'm not
Actions
gonna be
Y'all,
speak.
outside with men.
Women don't matter. There were
look,
women brown berets out there. Women, men, it
look,
doesn't
look, look,
matter.
look.
Okay, and let them do that. That's not me.
Look, y'all, we agree with the actions. We just agree to change the word because the word is inflammatory, right? It's triggering. It's there's a lot of unhealed wounds there in history. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the word mulatto. I try to reclaim that word. You know what I'm saying? Mulatto, mulatta. I try to reclaim it, but a lot of people, I don't know. I
They
try to
don't know
reclaim
the
it.
history or the etymology behind it. They only
Yeah. So I
associate
try
it.
to reclaim
They
it,
only
but they
associate it
associate it
with
with there's a
history.
negative connotation there. So
But
like
it
I
wasn't
guess.
negative. It wasn't negative before slavery here.
Hmm.
It
So
wasn't negative.
I think we should just say I don't know. I agree with her. Like, of course, I think you guys both agree on the actions, about like political and I think you guys agree on the actions, right? But it's just the word that's just triggering and inflammatory and just like, you know. So,
It's violent.
oh,
It's violent. The word is violent. That's
The
this
world
like
is
there's
violent. The
literally no that's
universe is violent.
that's
oh my
look,
god.
look, look.
Procreating is a violent act.
Okay.
You're confusing. You're getting. You know what? Never mind.
Look, no, because this is what I like when it comes to tribalism, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm for it as long as it's not hurting anybody else. But like I said, like
Yes.
a lot of people tell me, I gotta be realistic. The world is violent. The world is like there's always like war is like in human nature. We're at war right now, probably with somebody. We're at war. Like the world's at war. There's always war, and that's like it's such a hard thing to accept. It's like, gosh, like, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like you got to pick your battles wisely sometimes. You know what I'm saying? You can't just be out here, just like, it's just such a horrible hit because we have been our people, especially as black people, as our black ancestors. You know what I'm saying? We have been such victimized so bad by like the horrible side effects of tribalism. We've seen the horrible side of it, how we've been affected and how we've been brutalized and how we've, you know what I'm saying, that's still in our DNA, that the cellular DNA, that we have to heal still, like breaking those generational curses and still trying to find healing and forgiveness for all those horrible things. So it's like, how do we heal from that, reform that, and actually like practice, rise above it in a way that we could like take the good of it, I guess, and leave the bad, and make sure we're not, you know, continuing a negative cycle. That we're not continuing a negative like it's like how a lot of people like to fight racism with racism, but it's like that's the negative cycle. We can't like, and now it's like, okay, we're gonna fight segregation with segregation, and it's like I get what you're saying, but it's like, of course, like it's just hard to break those cycles and making sure we're doing things in a healthy, positive way that benefits us and doesn't hurt other people. Like that's the tricky thing, because in the past it's always been it's you versus me. It's like I win and you lose. Like I'll win, but your people are gonna have to suffer, and your people are gonna have to be downtrodden and horrible. I'm gonna take everything away from your people so my people could win. And that's why it's like, is that always gonna be the case of everything? Because we live in a modern era. There's enough for everybody. There really is. I believe in abundance mindset. I don't believe in I believe there's enough resources for everybody. You just gotta go out and get it. Like you just gotta go out and work for it. You just gotta go out and make it happen. I do believe there's enough. Like the whole crabs in a bucket mentality where it's like I gotta pull you down to pull me up. I don't believe in that. I believe that we can go out and get it, and there's abundance you can share with your people, and you don't have to take from somebody else to eat. Like you could make your own things, right?
Yeah,
So
that's my thing. That's why I didn't like even like the pie reference when you were like, "Oh, I about everyone getting a slice of a pie." It's like I thought we was all going to get a slice of the damn pie. That's ain't that the goal?
yeah,
Like why are we trying to do this whole, and I'm not saying don't, I think that I think the issue is that maybe what I'm saying may come off like I'm saying don't preserve your culture. That's not what I'm saying. I I never would tell that to someone. That's not my place. That's quite if anyone says that and feels that way, someone should tell them to go shove it, because you don't tell that to people, right? That's how erasure happens. I just think if we are if we are going to be moving in a political sense, then I mean like do you really want, so if it was to go according to your plan, right, and everyone partakes in this type of segregation, who is to say that there's not going to still be issues? Because I mean,
I've stated
segregating
there's always going to be
people.
issues, but
There's always
if,
gonna be
but,
issues.
but the point, if the point is equality, that's the only way we're going to have true equality.
To
It's,
segregate.
it's going to, yes, it's going to have to be forced. And no matter what you call it, you can call it this, you can call it that, it's still going to be the same thing. That's why and I apologize. I don't get hung up on words like that. That's me. I look at actions and the response to those actions. I'm not here looking for a safe space. I don't get triggered by words or anything. I'm 45 years old. That's just not me. You know what I
I
mean?
think
Go ahead.
that's a very, I think that it's pretty insensitive to be like, basically, even though I know that this word is harmful to the African American community, I'm going to embrace this word, uphold this word, uplift this word, and enforce this word. I think that if someone was going around calling Blasian people or using whatever, if there was something that we collectively found offensive, right? And people still flat out said to me, to my face, like, oh, well, I don't care if that offends you and because of the historical context of your ancestors. I'm going to embrace that word. So screw you. Like that, to me, I think that that's where I find it just to be a little bit, it's a little, it kind of starts to go over into the edge of extremism, and that's why it's like if we're if a scholar is listening to this conversation, a scholar is going to be like, those probably aren't the right choice of words to convey
A
what
scholar
it
in
is.
an indoctrinated system. Okay.
So let me
Okay.
respond to that. So let me say something about that. So, in our spaces, what I've noticed, making an observation here, words definitely matter because even like you could apply that same thing you said to the word mulatto because it's like it's hurtful to some people in our communities and stuff. But yeah, I've tried to reclaim it. So maybe, I'm doing the wrong thing there, so maybe, but some people are like, no, we should reclaim it. It's so we get caught up on like what like words matter. We do need to have some solid like language that we all agree upon that we could like move forward with so we could all know exactly what have some clarity because clarity is everything. Clarity and having that clear crisp vision and idea of what we're doing and what we're about and how we're moving forward is so important, right? So and language plays a part in that because there's a lot of miscommunication in these spaces. There's a lot of words that people don't like even when it comes to like picking a group, like picking a name for like a group, like people be like, oh, golden, or by some people don't like golden, some people don't like biracial, some people don't like mulatto, and it's like, yeah, it's something that it really affect us, like what like these words that we use that some people have negative connotation in their mind, they don't want to use it, so they don't want to take part in that action, you know what I'm saying? So it's like we do want to be about our collective. I think we should just call it collectivism. I do want to
Mhm.
establish and form a collective and be about our collective as mixed people. But I think that we should, like, do you agree, Crispin, that we could just call it like collect? Yeah, it's the same action, like you said. That's cool. That's fine. But we could just be about collectivism. You know what I'm saying? And just like that we could just call it that. So how
So
does that work for you?
I will respond to that by saying that would be my part to be like, okay, this isn't going to work.
Mm-hmm.
As I stated earlier, I am fine with that. We all are going to have to give up something in order to push this forward. People
Mm-hmm.
are, offended by certain words I use, even when I explain them and why I use them. And they still
Mm-hmm.
just, well, I don't like it, even though what you're saying, makes sense. I still don't like the word because it triggers me. Then I'm going to have to step back from that, and that's fine. I have
Mm-hmm.
no problem with that. But with that,
Mm-hmm.
when does it stop?
Okay.
Because
About
everybody,
word.
one last thing, everybody can be offended by anything. So when does it stop? Where does it stop?
Mm.
I
My
can
thing
be
is,
offended. I can be offended that you want me to speak a certain way. Is my
Mm.
offense not as valid as yours?
I think she makes some good points though about like the history of it. I guess is always
That's what I'm
I think she makes
talking
some good
about. I mean,
points.
because didn't you literally get mad at me because I didn't speak to you a certain way? So come on now, because now we're starting to step in being playing in my face territory, and I think that if okay, I'm just gonna let you know this.
I've never been mad.
I
I've
don't think that
corrected
the
you.
world. No, you didn't. Okay. Anywho, I don't think that the world
Yes,
is gonna
very
take
much
us
so.
seriously if we're all going. Okay, well, not we not. I think I saw someone say the UK census has like more options for everyone, and in that aspect, like I think that that's great. But first of all, it's not a it's a fact. It's a fact of this country that the word segregation has a historical context. And for people who would like to pretend like words don't affect them, so if you're fine with people just disrespecting you, why even bother to get upset and call it disrespect if you're saying, oh well, words don't matter, the tone of voice people use don't matter. If it doesn't matter, then why do we even have words and definitions?
Okay. They don't. If they don't place their hands on me, then it doesn't matter. If they're not impeding my progress, it doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
Words matter. Words matter. See, if I was up here disrespecting people and saying this person's this person's that, this person's this person's that, like just going
But
off, like it would matter. It would affect things. It would be like, "Hey, what's wrong with you? You can't people get their platforms deplatformed for I guess the whole cancel that's a whole other topic within itself, you know what I'm saying? But it's a fine line. Of course, like I think this is a generational thing right here because you're like Gen X and then a lot of Gen X people they're like nah
I
we
don't think
we
so.
I think it's a
I don't think it's a
generational thing right
generation.
oh,
here.
I don't think
it
it's a
very much
generation
so
thing.
I
is.
I
feel
think
like
it's a
it
It
is right
very much
disrespect.
now.
so
I
is.
think it's a disrespect thing. I'm
Of course you
tired of
do, but it
it's
is a
about
generosity
respect.
thing.
So okay, so if I decided so it okay, so
Again, I
if
just
I
asked.
wanted to refer
Anybody
to
can
black
be
Arab people
offensive.
as sand inward, would that not be
Can you
inappropriate? That would be
can
wild
you
inappropriate.
Yeah, but
can
if you
you
say that to yourself and they keep moving, you're just speaking to yourself, looking like a fool.
but
Okay.
can you agree upon like okay if you just openly say that to everybody and anything like can you agree about the fact that it is a historical you
Yeah,
know
I have
grievance there
I have
right.
not I have not denied that. Have you heard me
So
say
how
that's
do
not
we
true?
this is my question. This is my question. So okay, I'm all about taking things that are negative and turning them into positive. Okay, I do that with the word. I'm all about that. I think that's possible. You know what I'm saying? I definitely think it's possible. So how would you take the word segregation and turn it into like a positive thing that's actually helpful and beneficial and that's good for people instead of that
I'm not
having
worried
that
about
negative
it being
connotation?
positive. I'm not. I'm worried
That's
about the
the
actions that I'm
that's the
speaking
issue.
behind it.
But
Actions,
Also,
no, it's
if it's
not
positive, it got to be
actions.
positive for
Actions
us. I know,
speak.
you're coming out the
That
gate being
action is
disrespectful to people.
stronger.
I don't
but
believe in coming out of the gate being disrespectful to people. That there it serves no purpose. It's unkind on a fundamental vibrational level. It's unnecessary and unkind. I'm
But
not gonna walk around being
but
like,
not everybody's
I'm
going
not
to
gonna
be
walk around and be
offended
like,
by that.
hi, fellow mixed person.
But not
Okay, are you
everybody's
up
going to
to
be
date with
offended.
segregation? Would you like to segregate with me as a fellow
You-
Blasian?
you're
Like,
talking as if
maybe.
everybody's going to be offended. Not everybody's going to be offended. Some
Nope.
people are like me, and words
First off,
don't matter.
I wouldn't even have the audacity to say something like that. I wouldn't
That's
use
you.
that word
Fine.
out of
That's you, and
respect
that's
for
fine.
African American people. Like, I don't understand why would mixed people get
yeah,
together and
some
they want to
people.
start kikiing and disrespecting black people. I don't
Who's
understand the thing.
disrespecting black people? I was adopted by black
If
people.
okay, if
I
Magic
spent my
Walla
whole
is
life.
African
I
American,
spent my whole
Magic
life with
Walla is an
black
African American person.
people.
Okay, you're missing the
I
point.
was
Unless you
adopted by.
belong
No,
to the
no, you're sitting
African
here talking
American.
about. I do. They
Okay, are
adopted
you
me at
African
3 years
American? Because
old.
if you're not, I mean,
No, so you're not. You're sitting here talking about disrespect.
oh my
I
gosh.
don't disrespect them.
Okay, but Magic Mulata is literally half African American, and she literally told you out her mouth she finds that term to be, to use the utilization of that word, to be
And
offensive
that's
to
her.
people.
And I will use it around her. Not
Y'all, here's my
everybody's
stance
going
on
to
it too,
be
though.
offended.
Okay, see, here's my stance on it. Here's my stance on it, guys. Yes, it is has a negative connotation. We all agree upon that, right? We all agree with that. Crispin does not care. He don't care how he's viewed. He don't care. So we gotta just. He's gonna say that he doesn't care, because about the word, but that's what we don't have to say what he says. You know what I'm saying? If that's what he wants
Exactly.
to do, if that's what he wants to do, that's what he wants to claim, that's what he wants to say. I'm not gonna go around saying what he says. Like we
Hmm.
can't control what he says and how he describes what he does. But I think me and Lynn, I'm like, okay, we still have some agreement there, but we're not, me and Lynn, me and you are not gonna go around saying that. We're gonna be like, okay, we want to be about our collectivism. We're gonna have a different word. We're gonna redefine it. That's what we're gonna do. If that's what you want to do, we've already stated our opinion about it. I'm like, okay, I don't really think but that's your choice. You're a grown man. You're gonna say that word. That's cool. So I think we can move on from that topic, guys. I think we can move on, and just yeah. So I think that we all okay. I'm gonna sum up tonight. Okay. So what I've learned from this, right, is that I coined a new term called like multi-tribal.
There
Like
you
we're a
go.
multi-tribal people, right? You know what I'm saying? Where we come from, and I think that we should all strive to like take the best. I'm always promoting people take the best, leave the worst, right? You know what I'm saying? So we all agree that we want to come together to support businesses, right? And support biracial mixed businesses. That's something we want to do. That's something all of us mixed people want to do. We want to make sure that like our identity is respected, and because we already like the whole census thing, right? We do have it on the census, right? So I guess we just gotta keep checking that box and making sure that like we're here and we're known and that our voices are heard and that our stories are represented accurately and that's something that all of us as mixed people want to do. You know what I'm saying? If that's a positive form of tribalism, making sure like our image and our people and our words and our brains and our everything about us is respected and that we keep like me and Lynn agree that we want to keep evolving as people too. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to, we want to take like what's worst about human nature. We have to learn from the past or we repeat it, right? So we want to take the worst about human nature and try to refine it and do better and try to evolve as as human beings and everything. And what else, you guys? So I think that yeah, words do matter. Words definitely do matter. But we can't control how other people speak, how other people choose to describe it. All we can do is give our opinion. That we gave our opinion, and what we're gonna we I think it's good that we try to redefine things and making sure that that's my personal choice. That's what I think. I agree on Lynn with that. And yeah, do you guys have any like closing thoughts or anything about this? I think it was a product. I think I got a lot out of this conversation. I think we're moving forward. I wish Mulatto Vanguard was here because I was talking about it with him. I wish he was here to join the panel, but it's okay. And yeah, do you guys have any like closing thoughts or anything about this topic or anything about us kind of trying to like the whole tribalism topic and us being like the best individual, because I do believe like we have to have a group, like what I'm saying, like that video I shared. It's like we do have to have some type of group or people that we socialize with, that you know but we also do want to strive to become the best individuals that we can be, what I'm saying, so we can help our group, we can help our people, help our family, and I support both. Like I'm always about trying to find that balance within our communities, within ourselves, right? So yeah, if anybody has any closing thoughts, I'd like to hear Toenails. Breaker, what was your opinion about this whole conversation? And I'm trying to, what was your opinion about that?
People should live by character and conduct and to be recognized. Putting a label doesn't always work like that at all. Striving for homogeneity, it doesn't work like that really at all, because we're not being forced into a corner or like an area, like say for instance what happened to the South African coloreds and so on. This is not the perspective or the American perspective. When I speak about American, I'm talking about the whole entire continent of America. It's not so much as this. And even though that we may have some similarity because one parent is black, one parent is white, it doesn't mean that we will get along. Doesn't mean that we will agree with each other. There's always going to be some form of sectarianism is going to be there because even among the whitest of white people, there is sectarianism. There is difference. I mean, even in politics, right now, if there was no government, do you think white liberals, and white conservatives would get along? No, they'll kill each other. Straight up. They would kill each other. You guys know that. So when it comes to that fine line of trying to separate from the other, which is basically I see it as a form of sectarianism. Um, there needs to be some good thought in regards to that particular aspect. But yeah, again, I agree with all of I agree with the using a couple of two words, which is tribalism and segregation. Those are words that have very, very, very extremely negative connotations to them. But do think about this. I'm going to leave this with in thought. For millions of years or hundreds of thousands of years, mankind separated out of Africa from other Africans for a particular reason. And something tells me it has to do with prejudice. It has to do with indifferences. It tells me it has to do with sectarianism because that's the major, major thing that's going on. Even if you go to the most homogenous country like China or Japan, etc., they still have sectarianism within themselves, although being of the same, well, people would classify as race, or being the most homogenous, they still have division within themselves. So that projection of looking at as we are looking to do the same thing or looking to try to achieve that particular thing, it's going to be rather difficult because it's never been achieved for millions of years, as from since the dawn of mankind. So the best the aspect that I look at is basically is trying to share and trying to learn for everybody and trying to be universal with everybody. I'm going to end this with these simple words, and I pretty much have been settled from this from since my 30s. I said, my people are the people who believe in what I believe in, who have the same values, ethics, and morals as I do. You could be Chinese, you could be Arab, you could be European, you could be Indian, black, mixed race, whatever it is. If you have those same values and respect those same values, then you are my people. And because those are people that I can trust. What happened to our ancestors or our African ancestors 400 years ago? It was other Africans that did it to them, that sold us off, that sold off our ancestors, that exiled our ancestors into slavery, technically speaking. But I just want you guys to basically think about that if you're looking for some homogeneity, it's not going to work. It's not going, there's so much overlapping of cultures, so much differences and indifferences. It's going to be a very tough thing to be able to achieve. But anyhow, thank you very much for allowing me to come up to speak, and I hope everyone have a good night.
You have a good evening.
Thanks.
Snaps. That was
Bye.
beautiful. You summed
Yeah.
it up wonderfully. That was beautiful.
Hmm.
I think that's a great perspective that, yeah. Thank you so much. I love always talking to you. You're an amazing speaker. I appreciate you coming up here and sharing your thoughts and everything. And yeah, does anybody else have any closing thoughts? I think
Yeah, I do. I see in the chat something being said that that really really resonates with me, and you even was bringing it up about I see Estrella Yanez saying mixed people were universal. And even remember when I was talking to you earlier about that's something that often monoracials, no matter even I feel like monoracial people can only somewhat experience this if they're like extremely, extremely cultured. And because when I talk to monoracial people, they don't understand what it means to have a fluid racial identity. And even though I'm not mulatto, I can go around mulattoes and still feel that same togetherness, that oneness when I get around people, because a similar look or a shared background, and not a ethnic background, but like um, dealing with anti-mixed sentiments. We all came to this space to bond over the fact that we did not feel welcomed in the other spaces that we were in. And so I think that I don't want anyone to engulf anyone. I just want there to be one fundamental understanding amongst mixed people, especially those of us mixed with Afro roots, that no matter the division within ourselves, I feel like no matter what, we should have each other's back. Mixed people get enough shit from everyone else. Why should we be shitting on each other and you know being nasty to each other because of our admixtures? Like, it's silly to me, and I just want all mixed people to get to a space where they feel affirmed, loved, seen. I want everybody to get the resources they want for themselves. But then, it gets slippery once you start adding in the fact that, like, okay, for example, I'm Jamaican, Korean, and Dominican. So then where does that leave me? You know what I mean? So I think that coming together at least under mix is that's the wave. And then if y'all want to separate from there, we'll link back up at like 10. So that's
There
all I
you
have to
go.
say.
Love that. Love that. Crispin, do you have any last final thoughts? I'd love to hear it.
Well, just wish everyone a good night. That's it.
Thank you. I'm so proud of you guys. I love this stream so much. You guys are amazing. Thank you guys for remaining respectful towards each other. I appreciate you guys so much. Like, I really do. I think this was it's really touched my heart. I loved it. We came together, talked about different things, different perspectives, and I'm really proud of my community tonight to like really come together, and I think it was productive. I got a lot out of it. I hope everybody got a lot out of it, and I hope we you know, have different perspectives and we can see things differently, and that we're building each other's minds up, and that we are just challenging each other. I think it's good and healthy to challenge each other, and I think it's good and healthy. It's going to help us grow. I just want to see our people in our community keep growing as individuals, and growing our knowledge, growing our insights, growing our keep being enlightened, keep pushing. Keep pushing, keep truth finding, keep trying to find the truth, keep trying to find what works, keep trying to find, and then surround yourself with people who think differently than you. Surround yourself with people who are different, and just keep growing your mind. It's uncomfortable. Growth is uncomfortable, but it's healthy and natural and normal, and it's necessary. So yeah, I think this was a great conversation, and I really appreciate everybody watching, and I love y'all. Y'all are my family. I do think of everybody here as my family. Even people I don't talk to, even people who, we're not even on good terms. I love them. I'm sending them love and positive vibes, and I hope, I see them as my family in these spaces. So I love
Yeah.
y'all. Y'all have a good night. It was a good
Good night,
stream.
ladies.
Good
Magic.
night.
Nate.